All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, most misunderstood tools in the entire world of finance, options. Now, I know they can seem super complex, almost like a foreign language, but trust me, by the end of this, you are going to get the core ideas down cold. So let's dive right in.
So let me just start with a question for you. What if? What if you could control 100 shares of a stock? Let's say it's a big, expensive one. Not by shelling out 10,000 bucks, but by paying just a tiny fraction of that, maybe a few hundred. Well, that right there, that's the magic of options. It's all about leverage, and it's exactly what makes them so incredibly powerful.
But here's the thing you have to understand. This incredible power, it's not just for making wild speculative bets. See, options really have two main jobs, and they're almost complete opposites. On one side, yeah, you can use them for those supercharged, leveraged gains. But on the other side, they're this critical tool for managing risk. Think of it like buying insurance for your entire portfolio.
Okay, so how can one single tool do both of those things? Well, to get it, we have to nail down the single most important concept in the entire world of options. It sounds simple, but this changes everything.
And here it is. The whole game is in this one phrase. An option gives the buyer the right, but, and this is the most important part, not the obligation to do something. You know what it's like? It's kind of like putting a down payment, a non-refundable one, on a house. You've locked in that price, you have the right to buy it. But if the market crashes or you just change your mind, you don't have to go through with it. You could just walk away. All you lose is that initial deposit, the price you paid for the option.
All right, so options basically come in two main flavors, and they are perfect mirror images of each other. You've got call options, which give you the right to buy, and you've got put options, which give you the right to sell. That's it. Call is for buying, put is for selling. Let's dig into each one.
So, if you buy a call option, you're making a bet that the price is going to go up. You're bullish. You think that stock, or whatever it is headed for the moon. So you're basically buying the right to snap it up at today's, hopefully lower price, at some point down the road. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the risk here. The person who buys the call, they pay a small fee, right? That's the premium. And their potential profit, well, it's theoretically unlimited. The stock could go up forever. And the most they can possibly lose is just that small premium they paid. But look at the seller. They're the one who collects that little premium. But if they sold that option naked, meaning they don't even own the stock, their potential loss is, and I mean this literally, unlimited. That huge imbalance is absolutely central to how options work. Okay, now for the flip side, the put option. If you buy a put, you're bearish. You're betting the price is going to go down. You think things are about to take a nosedive, so you're locking in the right to sell your shares at today's higher price, even if the market tanks later on.
And just like we saw with calls, it's a perfect mirror image. The put buyer, their risk is, once again, totally capped at the premium they paid. But their potential profit is huge if the stock really crashes. Meanwhile, the seller collects that premium, but now they're stuck. They're on the hook to buy a stock that's plummeting in value at an already agreed-upon high price. You can see how that could lead to some really major losses.
So what does all this boil down to? It's this one key idea: asymmetrical risk. The buyer's risk is always limited. It's capped. But the seller's risk, well, it can be way, way bigger. This single concept is the foundation for literally every option strategy out there. So the next logical question is, what determines the price of that contract in the first place? How much does it cost to buy that right? Let's get into it.
All right, to figure out what an option costs, we've got to look at its anatomy. Every single options contract is built from three key ingredients that all work together to set its price.
Okay, here are the three building blocks of any option. First, you have the strike price. That's just the agreed-upon price to buy or sell. It's locked in. Then you've got the expiration date. That's the deadline. The option is worthless after this date. And finally, the premium. That's just the price tag. It's what you paid by the contract itself. So that premium, the price of the option, it's not just some random number. It's actually made up of two distinct parts. First is intrinsic value. That's the real solid value the option has right now. So, for example, if you have the right to buy a stock for 50 bucks and it's already trading at 55, your option has $5 of intrinsic value. Simple. The second part is time value. This is the extra bit people will pay for the hope, the possibility, that the stock price will move even more in their favor before time runs out.
And that brings us to maybe the most powerful, unstoppable force in the options world: time decay. The fancy word for it is theta. The best way to think about it is like a melting ice cube. Every single day that goes by, a little bit of that time value we just talked about, it just melts away. It disappears. And for an option buyer,
This is brutal. It means the clock is always ticking against you. Your option is what's called a wasting asset.
So you end up with this constant tug of war. The buyer is desperately hoping the stock makes a big move, and fast, before their ice cube melts. The seller, though, they can make money even if the stock does absolutely nothing. Because as time passes and that option loses value, that value is essentially transferred right into their pocket. It all comes down to the simple, powerful truth. For an option buyer, time is the enemy. But for an option seller, time is their best friend.
Okay, so we've got the mechanics down. We know what options are and how they're priced. So how do people actually use them in the real world? Well, believe it or not, all those super complex sounding strategies can be boiled down to just 3 main jobs.
And here they are, the big 3. Number 1, speculation. That's all about making those amplified bets we talked about. Number 2 is hedging, which is basically portfolio protection. And number 3 is income, using options to generate a consistent cash flow. All right, job number 1, speculation. This is what most people think of when they hear options trading. It's simple. You buy a call or you buy a put for a relatively small premium, and you are praying for a huge price swing in your direction. It is the absolute classic high-risk, high-reward play. You could turn a few $100 into thousands, or you could lose every single penny you put in if you get it wrong.
But then we have job number 2, hedging. And this is just as important, but it's the total opposite of a risky bet. This isn't about trying to get rich quick. This is about making sure you don't get poor. You can really just think of it as buying an insurance policy for your stock portfolio. Here's a perfect classic example, the protective put. Okay, so imagine you own 100 shares of some stock you really like, but you're getting nervous. You think the market might be about to drop. So what do? You buy a put option on that stock. What that does is give you the right to sell your shares at a specific, guaranteed price. It creates a price floor below which your stock's value can't fall. So if the market does crash, your losses are totally capped. It is literally portfolio insurance, and that premium you paid, that was your insurance payment.
And that brings us to job number 3, generating income. This is where you flip the script and you become the seller. You're the one taking the other side of the trade. Instead of buying options, you're selling them to all the speculators and the hedgers. And your goal is simple. Just consistently collect those premium payments month after month and let that time decay, that melting ice cube, do all the work for you.
And this brings us to the ultimate trade-off in the world of options, especially for the people who are selling them for income. It's a risk profile that has a very famous and very, very vivid analogy.
They say selling options for income is like picking up pennies in front of a steamroller. And why is that? Well, because as the seller, you're making these small, consistent profits, the pennies, over and over and over. It feels great, it feels safe, but you are always living with that small, tiny chance of a sudden, catastrophic market move against you. That's the steamroller, and it can come out of nowhere and wipe out all those pennies you collected and a whole lot more in the blink of an eye.
So there you have it. That's the fundamental tension at the heart of the options market. On one hand, you have this incredible power, the power of leverage, the power of protection. But you have to remember, for every single buyer who gets to enjoy that sweet limited risk, there has to be a seller on the other side accepting potentially massive, even unlimited exposure. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. Now that you understand the trade-offs, which side of that trade are you on?